You guys know I hate doing this. You missed last week's episode. Here's what you missed.
We're coming back on the air.
Last time on Graveyard Carz.
I've kind of made a mistake. Not anybody's fault but my own. So we've got 45 days to completely restore a 1970 Plymouth Roadrunner. We have to work weekends and evenings to get the car done because we can't compromise the other cars that are in the queue getting done right now. We have promises and commitments on them too.
I don't know how we're even going to be able to do this.
2 days is like an eternity when it comes to working on...
This station will remain on the air.
On this episode.
Doing it in 45 days is a big enough task on its own. Doing it while you're still working on all the other client cars, that's priceless.
Everybody's circling this car.
People have lost their damn minds.
We still got a few things to do, and very little time to do it.
In Springfield, Oregon, dead Mopar muscle cars are coming back to life. Restored by Mopar master Mark Warman.
I'm a liar and a fat mouth.
His daughter, Alyssa Rose.
Why would you do that?
His painter, Will Scott.
Got one job.
And his cousin, Dougie.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Welcome back to Graveyard Carz.
So just to refresh everybody's memory, a couple years ago I took on a Graveyard Dreams build car. This is where you can call me up and say, I need a 1970 Roadrunner, in this case, with a 392 crate engine and a 6-speed Silver Sport transmission and a Mosier Dana rear end and all this cool stuff. And I build the car for you. I took the job on. I didn't pay attention to the deadline and when it was due. I thought it was January of 2021. It turns out it was 20, and this guy is scheduled to go to a convention in Las Vegas and unveil the car. So I went ahead and committed to restoring the car completely from beginning to end in 45 days. Doing it in 45 days is a big enough task on its own. Doing it while you're still working on all the other client cars, that's priceless. So we're still running a regular shop during the day, and we're working on this car in the evenings and the weekends. That gets us up to where we are now. The car has already had the body work, the paint work done on it. It's moved over into the assembly shop. We actually are outside shooting right now because we have no power. I called the utility board and I said, why don't we have any power? I'm pretty sure I paid the bill. They lost a transformer. That's what I was told. So right now, my entire block, all of Catherine Avenue, all the way down to Weyerhaeuser, all the way down to 35th Street, has no power. So I don't want to send the guys home, and I also can't leave them inside the shop because it's not very safe if you can't see what you're doing. I'm paying everybody $20, $25 an hour to walk around and move stuff, clean stuff up, stay busy while we're hoping the power comes on. The utility board said, I can't promise you when the power comes on. It may never come on. I have Ron, who just came up from Las Vegas, from Magnum Force, to save our again, as he's had to do many times. But right now, he's out back sweeping. If that isn't enough, which is a full plate for anybody, anytime, we're still making a television show. We're mid-season on Graveyard Carz. And so what that means is every week I have to turn in a completed episode so you can watch it the following week. Aaron, the executive producer upstairs, who you've all met because he loves the camera, called me, rightfully so. We have no power. How's he gonna upload an episode of Graveyard Carz that takes hours to upload in a room with no power? So I've given him the blessing to go across town to his friend's place who has high-speed internet and has power, and upload that complete episode. If it's not enough about the cars, it's not enough about the power, it's not enough about the 45-day calendar, then you can just add in the fact that this is what you get for being Mark Warman and starting a television show at the same time. The clock is ticking by, and my promise to the guy is clicking by. I don't see how we're going to be able to finish everything like it needs to be done in time for him to get to the convention. But I'm pulling up my boot heels and I'm doing the best that we can. And I figure if we're 3 or 4 days late, he'll at least know we tried. And he's a good-hearted guy. Mr. Martinez has wanted this car his entire life, and now this is his opportunity. And so he'll have plenty of other times to enjoy it. I'm not dismissing the fact that we're probably going to miss our mark. That's wrong, and it's not right. And we're behind on everybody's car. It doesn't make it right. I'm just hopeful that we can get the car done close after the deadline in time for him to still not have a sour taste in his mouth and be able to enjoy the car and not have bad memories around it. Because Graveyard Dreams is about creating good memories, not manufacturing all new bad memories.
Yeah. All right, all these parking places are done for. We're gonna wrap around that way. We'll see if we can find another spot. Ah, there we go. There's some parking. We're gonna park right, like not exactly behind. See any of these guys?
Things are looking up. Normally I have to pay for parking downtown. I pulled into a meter, got out, and there was over an hour on the meter. So plenty of time to get everything uploaded. I love going over to Attic because I get to see my buddy Ryan and everybody else who works there. That's always great. Hey, you guys are both here.
This is Jess, editor, colorist, and probably several other things.
All right. I sat down, got the computer hooked up, got everything in the queue, started uploading it. I'm about 40% through this episode, and then
We lost our entire weekend ability to work due to the power outage. That's 28 hours that we could have been physically working on cars. So here we are, we're behind, but we're gonna do our best to get to the finish line. So right now, Doug and Justin are getting ready to put the wiring harness on the 392. Now this is the Mopar Performance Controller. I wanted to take the opportunity to show how easy this is. It comes with a complete set of instructions, but on top of that, every wire lead that goes onto the engine is marked. You can't make a mistake on it. The wiring harnesses have these little stabilizer pins in them. It's good to put those in first. See, and that helps stabilize that so you're not fighting it all the time. That again, that helps with holding that thing in place. These are a real nice plug and play. So the next thing he's going to do after that is going to do the oil pressure switch. You see this sending unit for the oil pressure? This is a factory Mopar one that you'd see on our 70 Cuda, because we want to be able to run the original gauges in the car, the original rally cluster in this Roadrunner. We want to have the tachometer, we want to have oil pressure. We can't use the signals coming off of the wiring harness that came for the Mopar Performance. So what we've done is tapped into it, teed off of the original oil pressure galley, came up here with our own setup so we could run this and this together. We'll be putting an original factory wiring harness onto this. Same thing for the water temperature. You'll see it over here. We've tapped into it, so the engine still has all the signals it needs to run the ECM, and we also have our access to be able to run our gauges.
Okay, so we're putting the disc brakes on the Dana 60 for the 70 Roadrunner. And why a Dana and not an 8 3/4? Well, strength, bottom line. It's just that simple. It's got a bigger ring gear, it's got more tooth contact, it's got a bigger pinion shaft, bigger axles, bigger, and we like bigger. So Mosier put together this Dana for us, and they took care of some of the things like the drum register matching the disc brakes that we're putting on it, the slightly longer wheel studs as well. That's going to help. As far as the thicker backing plates go, we've already got the non-adjustable bearings on there. Access hole makes it real easy to tighten up the bolts on the housing end. Let's get it put together. So the snap ring is what's going to hold the whole axle into the rear end itself. This backing plate is going to cinch up against that and push the whole assembly in there as well. In addition to that, once it's all put together, we're going to have this little bracket inside there as well, which is going to serve as another means of retention, so that it's not completely reliant on the snap ring itself, but also on this plate to hold everything in.
They're going to put the TTI headers on it. So these are a specific header made by TTI that are designed to go on the 392 as well as play well with Ron's Magnum Force suspension.
And we should be able to drop the header right in over that bolt.
Yep. So the way these headers are made, you look at the bottom of the header, you'll see this locator notch. Because of that, you're allowed to put one cylinder head bolt in, and then with it in place, you can come in, drop that down on that head bolt, and that will hold it in place while you feed the rest of the exhaust manifold bolts in. Okay, so with that, they'll just finish tightening those headers down. Once the headers are tightened down, we'll put the belt on here. That'll be the last thing we have to do. But good job, guys. That looks really good.
So on the two axles here, you can see the difference between the 8 3/4 and the Dana 60. The 8 3/4 has 30 splines, the Dana 60 has 35 splines. And as you can see, the length of the axle, it stays substantially stronger the whole length of the axle. Okay, so now that we got that little guy in there, got to get the plate.
Okay, so here's the belt. I think all we have left right now is just putting the belt on. This is kind of cool, actually. So check out this routing of the belt. Nice and easy. Don't get crazy. You're crazy. All right, he's got it around the alternator. Okay, this is the alternator. This is an idler pulley. It goes under the idler pulley, goes over the water pump, over the power steering pump, over the outside of the AC compressor, across the outside of the harmonic balancer. Then it weaves back up through this, which is the tensioner. It's spring loaded, so he's bringing it over there. I put the belt on the pulley where it belongs, and you see all this stuff's tightened up.
Lined up in the grooves.
So this is your tensioner, whereas in the old days, you had to grab the alternator and you would pull it towards you and tighten it down. These days, this is all preloaded all the time, so the more this belt stretches, this will keep going to a certain point and keep tension on it until that belt is just shot. So that's kind of a cool setup. We got a pistol grip shifter. You got to check this bad boy out. So when you're talking to like Silver Sport and you're ordering your stuff, if you've got a B-body from the factory, the shift tunnel is off to the left-hand side on all B-bodies and on E-bodies. They have this transmission specifically to be able to go into an E-body. To go into a B-body, though, they're making that jog over where that hump would be out of the shifter. So the shifter, if you look right there, is actually a console-style shifter. In this case, we're not running a console, but it comes up, jogs over to where it's supposed to be the original opening position, so it feels right to the driver. Then this is just a bolt-on style, which they went to in 71 on up on the shifters, instead of the wedge they used in 70. Whether or not this can stay in the car when we actually put the drivetrain in, won't know until we try to do it. So there it is, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. That's about as close as anything's ever gonna be, because if you take those other cars, if you get in a 1970 B-body with a pistol grip shifter, first gear is out over the hood ornament, second gear is in the trunk, third gear, the guy going past you in the passenger's lane grabs it and puts it in third, and then whoever's in the back seat grabs fourth. It's that long. I'm embellishing a little, but not much. And then check it out on the top, and that is cool. That is the same exact lens shape and style, except instead of a 4-speed, it's a 6-speed. Pretty cool. I smell a Dana rear end in my future. Anybody that's watched the show for any period of time knows that I like to invest back in the company by buying equipment and stuff. Sometimes it pays off better than others. Like we started deburring our parts. We never did that before. We just hand clean them up with a roll lock and an angle grinder. But now we're under the gun. We got to get the Roadrunner done. We got to get the parts completely sandblasted for the front suspension. But they always take a lot of cleanup on them to make the pits and the rusty areas go away. So immediately after those parts are sandblasted, I put them inside the deburr machine. And it's like just a bunch of little helpers in there that don't charge overtime, by the way, and don't show up late to work. So they're the best employees ever. They sit there and they do an aggregate thing as they tumble through it, and when you pull that control arm out of the knuckle or whatever you're cleaning and polishing, it looks like a brand new part. We can put a satin clear over the top of it, and it's ready to go back into the car. So in essence, if you add up the quality, the consistency, and the time of not having manpower there, the only manpower you need on this machine is long enough to load it, long enough to take the parts back out of it, rinse them off, and start treating them. So in a situation like this, where time is money and money is time, and we have none of either at this particular moment, that's the best piece of equipment in the house. So our 1969.5 Dodge Super Bee, this is an A12 car. 446-pack, 4-speed numbers matching car. A gentleman by the name of Dave owns this car. We've had it for way too long. That car, when it came to me, was a really nice, solid car. Now, it had extensive damage to the right quarter and the right door and the right fender from hitting a guardrail while drag racing it. So while we've taken, way too long on this particular car, the guy's been really patient with us, which I appreciate that, Dave. Thank you very much. The body and the paintwork is done. The suspension, steering, engine, transmission, rear axle assembly, and rear suspension are done and installed. So we've got a clean slate that is truly ready for final assembly.
So what I got right here is the grill for our 69.5 Super B. So what I'm going to start with first is the exposed metal areas. You know, they're anodized, and over time they just get nicks and scratches. I'm going to actually remove the anodized layer off, expose those scratches, sand them out really nice, and then resurface that whole area. So now that I finished up some of the bezel, I'm going to move on to the grill and work out some problem issues that we have on this. Now this is going to just be the same process as the bezels, so we can polish it and then have all three of these things sent off to get re-anodized.
A quick catch up on our Phoenix Cuda. Doug and Alyssa had built out the rear axle assembly, but they got to a point where they didn't have the brake lines. We were waiting for inline tube to send them. They have shown up. Those have been installed. So I've cut Doug and Alyssa loose to wrap up that rear end, which is leaf spring, shock plates, stuff like that.
We built it right side up to do the brakes because that was easier. And now to put the leaf springs on, it's upside down and backwards, and keep up with that. So here's our right hand leaf.
Come on, Doug, you know better. That's the left. The right lower spring faces forward.
Shackle mount. We're gonna need 2 U-bolts. I'll get this.
Okay.
So this is gonna be our passenger rear leaf spring. This is the front. That's the rear where the shackle's gonna mount. So we're gonna put the shock mount right here.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay. Now we're gonna put the U-bolts around the axle through the shock mount. Can't see the brake line. I don't know if I cleared. I must have, okay. Yep. Perfect. Oh, this is easy with 4 hands. Very nice, okay. Bring the impact gun. We'll run these down. We're not gonna tighten them real tight because we need the spring loose for fit in the car later on.
Okay, so just...
Are you in forward position?
I am.
Okay. Run it down till... Alyssa is doing an amazing job with my poor coaching skills or whatever I'm doing, you know, trying to tutor her through this. That'll work.
That'll work?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we can go ahead and hang our shocks on.
Okay.
We can hang our rear shackles.
Still eating ice cream every night?
Oh yeah, ice cream by the gallons.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it sure is good.
I know, but I went and got some ice cream, Tillamook, the other night. It was really good. I got Marionberry pie.
Ooh.
So I had chunks of Marionberry and the pie, you know?
Yeah.
And the vanilla ice cream. It was so good. But even then, I can only have like 1 bowl, and then I probably won't even have ice cream again for another couple of weeks, you know?
We'll hang the shocks.
Sounds pretty good.
I have to mix it up with key lime pie.
Wait, what? So you like actual pie?
Key lime pie.
Yeah, and so you do that with ice cream?
No, I don't mix those together. What I mean is, now and then I have to have a trade-off.
Oh, key lime pie is good.
I know, my wife knows that. Yeah.
Okay, so all I gotta do is tighten these down.
Yep.
And then we're done, right?
Yep.
Is that tight enough?
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
Voila,
Yeah,
we're done.
there it is.
Okay, do a little dance.
Do a little dance.
Do a little tap dance and then,
like this.
yeah.
What's that called?
There we go, we're done.
The 1970 Dodge Challenger RT is one of the most collectible cars on the planet today. In the 2-door hardtop model, they made 8,939 with a 383 Magnum, 2,802 with a 440 Magnum. The 446 spec, they built 1,640, and the legendary 426 Hemi, only 287 copies were made. True or false? The high-performance 340 was never available in the 70 Challenger RT. Think you know that answer, Cool Breeze? Stay tuned after the break. We'll find out together. How did we do on that one, my ghoulish friends, family, and fellow Mopar enthusiasts? True or false? The 340 high-performance engine was never available in the 1970 Dodge Challenger RT model. If you said that statement is true, you're absolutely right. For those of you who are at home calling me a liar and a fat mouth, let me explain. It wasn't that you couldn't get a 340 and a 70 Challenger, you could. You just couldn't get it in the RT model under that pricing. You had to go to a JH23H, which would have gave you the A66 340 package, okay? So if you want to get into the numbers, we can do that too, if you want to go down that road. I mean, if you're talking about the 383 cars, 383 Magnum like this, two-door hardtop, 355 three-speeds made, 2,574 speeds made, 6,014 automatics. You want to jump over to the U-code? It don't matter to me. It's all the same thing, 916 four-speeds, 1,886 automatics. I can go all day long. 446 pack, there were 800. Well, don't be cutting me in the middle of my. Okay, so not too long back, we talked about a 1971 Cuda tribute car that the folks wanted me to build. In the end, it's going to look like a 1971 Hemi Cuda, two-door hardtop, in black with a black interior, but look exactly like a Hemi Cuda would. Now, if you're sitting at home wondering why in the world would you take such a rust bucket car and try to restore it when there's better ones out there, as I had explained, it's because of the roof reinforcement, upper quarter reinforcement areas that are not available from Auto Metal Direct or anybody else. This is the rear package tray. Has the speaker cutouts in it. That's new. You can buy a new one of those. This is the Dutchman panel that goes against it, or the upper deck filler panel. You can also buy a new one of those as well as the reinforcement for it. The trunk hinge support doubles as the support for the Dutchman panel on the outer ends. This piece, it's available. What's not available is this piece of reinforcement right here that goes all the way down, up through here, and marries into the roof upper reinforcement area. These are impossible to make and usually rusted. Almost every car in our graveyard, these areas need to be repaired because of rust. This one is mint. Like I say, everything from the belt up on it was in really nice shape. This isn't made. This is the upper reinforcement for the quarter panel. The rear header is not being made. The outer wheelhouse reinforcement is not being made. It's a two-piece unit, lower, upper. You can buy a skin, but what are you going to do with a skin if your side rails are garbage? So they make the actual windshield weather retainer landing area, which is what this is. But the upper reinforcement that ties the rear and the front windshield headers together, they don't make that. They don't make the windshield header. They don't make the back glass header. They do make the A-pillars, but again, without those key pieces, you end up just hand fabbing, and that's what we usually end up doing. Hand fabricating every one of those parts. So, to me, everything in the car that I bought, in my mind, the real value resides in the fact that we were able to take this off as one unit, drill out all the factory spot weld holes. And once we have all of our new sheet metal on the jig and set up and to a point where it's ready for this, we'll be able to come in with a couple of guys, set this down. We have a whole bunch of known upper body values. We have a frame jig for the lower known body values, and we'll be able to start welding on it.
So after I finished stripping the grill down, we got it polished and then sent off for anodizing. We got it back, and I was able to get all my reference photos to paint everything back to the way it was. You know, it's a learning process when you're doing one of these for the first time. And I just finished it off with setting the Super B emblem on there. One thing that you will notice is there is actually still 4 mounting holes for emblems. The reason why they actually have the 4 holes there is so they don't have to make 2 different grills for almost the same car. You can just swap out your emblem instead of swapping out an entire grill. The Coronet gets the Dodge Shadow Box emblem. This one's got the Super B. There weren't too many issues restoring these, so the next step is to actually get this thing installed on the car. I can't wait to get it on there. It's gonna look awesome.
We are day 38 of our Roadrunner build. That means from the time we started the project to today is 38 days.
I'd like to leave them a little bit loose so they can
Pretty good. At this point, we got every single part here. We got the car painted. We have it all. We have the ability now to get this thing across the line. I think we're gonna do it.
It's good.
It's good.
That undercoating has not dried at all.
Well, I look a little calmer now than I did earlier. We're still under a lot of stress. And one of the things that really hurt us by our power outage was the ability to continue the productivity on our Roadrunner. Will is literally just undercoated the car, so everything under there is wet. So the guys are gonna have to be careful. But yeah, it's gonna be a little cumbersome, and it's gonna be a little bit dirty, but it's gotta be done to get the car done on time.
It's a little slimy.
Oh, man.
Smart man with the
How
gloves.
are we gonna get up there?
I know.
Need to take a 1/4 inch off the washer. Okay, sweet.
We got our Mosier axle in. It's a Dana 60 replica of the original. 354 gears, just in case somebody's wondering. Just on the face of it. So it's like the old credit card commercial, right? It's a little bit like that. I feel the same way. We're all spent out of our minds on caffeine. We've got a car that has 7 days to be completely finished. We have a $20,000 drivetrain going in a $100,000 plus car. We all have to get it done in the next 7 days, and it's 3 in the morning, and we're marrying it all together. Priceless. Let me check the side profile. I would say probably an inch forward, maybe.
Just on that side?
Evenly forward.
Ron, going a little bit more with that. There you go.
As you can imagine, I was trying not to.
But it's great that the guy that made this stuff's here to put it together. That way, if there's any problems, it's his problem. I'm the good guy.
Okay, we gotta go back 2 inches.
Okay, I'm almost perfect.
A little bit more backwards.
We can't. We're up against the firewall with the wire harness.
Ah, there we go. I think we just got it, man. Boy, I've had my share of Roadrunners. I've had 68s, 69s, 70s. I love the 70. I mean, it's going to be a gorgeous car. I mean, Chrysler in 1970 was really, they were rocking. I mean, we've got some beautiful cars from 1970.
So we did really well on installing the drivetrain in the car. We have no chips, no bumps, no bruises. That's great. They're in a position where they can hook up all of the peripheral things that are going to allow us to finish the car. Upper and lower ball joints can get fixed into place. Shocks and shock hardware for the front can get mounted. We can attach the drive shaft to the Mosier Dana rear axle assembly. Install the Krager wheels with the BF Goodrich tires. And now we're ready to lower it down and roll it ahead for the first time.
Ooh, that's looking pretty, huh?
These things are so light, it could be a one-person job, but 2 hands always keep paint from getting scratched. All right, so we're getting pretty close now to tackling some of the smaller projects that have to be done as well. We're gonna need to get the steering column installed, get it cut to fit, the U-joint on it. That should go without a hitch. One of the issues we still have to deal with is wiring. So most of the harness is on the motor already, but we still got to route it through the car and make some of our attachments. We need to punch a hole through the firewall, get the computer inside. We still got a few things to do, and very little time to do it.
So all hell's broken loose here at Graveyard Carz. We are down to the nitty-gritty with our deadline for our 1970 Roadrunner, and people have lost their damn minds.
Everybody's circling this car, trying to put something on. You got people out here buffing the car, so you're trying to work around the person trying to get the paint stuff finished.
There wasn't even time to cut and buff this car right when I was done. We literally finished spraying it middle of the night, baked it, next morning rolled it over for assembly, and then as they're assembling it, I have Noah coming over and actually doing all the cut and buff work around the assembly. So it's kind of all hands on deck and just trying to work around each other to get the car done.
We got Larry putting on the headliner, we got someone buffing, someone taking stuff off, someone putting stuff on. It's insane. And this is why I've kind of stepped back and I'm not a part of it. Because it's crazy. We don't need any more hands on it, but I mean, I think we're gonna get it done. We should.
Normally we send the dash assembly to Instrument Specialties. They completely restore them. They're beautiful. They're like a work of art when they come back, and we've done them for years with them. But they can't possibly turn this thing around in the time that we need. So we decided that we're just gonna do it ourselves. Some of the things that we normally replate, we're just gonna buy new versions of it. So we are going to restore the dash assembly here in-house. It'll look great. It'll be exactly the same thing that we would have done if we had sent it out. We're just going to be doing it in considerably less amount of time.
You can't screw up spraying lacquer, so whether I do it or Mark does it, it's gonna come out the same. I just had to help him on the ratios.
As you might imagine, no one makes preconceived hoses for a 1970 Roadrunner with a brand new Mopar crate engine, 392. So we've had to get a little improvisational at this point, shall we say. A little bit of MacGyverism might be appropriate here. So we're going to make a multitude of cuts and angles here to try to establish connecting point A to point B, upper and lower hoses. Got quite a distance to traverse here, and when all's said and done, I think we're going to have a pretty good prototype to work from.
We got some little metal couplers we're going to put in between them. Little hose adapters. We're going to have to cut these down, Ron. I think they're a little long for what we're doing now.
They might be. It couldn't hurt to use them, though. I mean, if they slide in there easily. Oh, yeah, that upper one, you'll definitely have to cut that one.
This is MacGyverism.
So in less than 45 days, we've disassembled the car completely, inventoried all of its parts, ordered all of its new parts, sent it out and had it dipped, brought it back, did the metal replacement on it, sent it over to the mudroom, had it smoothed out, sent it over to Will, had it completely painted. Meanwhile, we built out the 392 crate engine, the 6-speed Silver Sport transmission, the Moser Dana rear axle assembly, all of these components, and the Magnum Force front end. All of this has been done in this period of time. We're rapidly putting the car together. We've even lived through a power blackout. Justin can start putting the trim, exterior ornamentation, the decals, taillights, bumpers, all the pieces on the outside of the car.
So what I got right here is our cold air intake for our 392 Hemi. Probably what they would use on a 2019 Challenger or Charger. So we have to actually trim down the actual tubing itself. It has a right angle that comes off this side and another right angle that comes out. I just measured where I needed, cut it, get these fit on there for our 1970 Roadrunner. So you want to make sure that you actually measure the length that you need under your hood, you know, clear the fender aprons, clear the radiator. Other than the cutting and measuring, this is super easy to go in. It just takes a bunch of hose clamps and it's pretty much smooth sailing from there. That's on there good. It doesn't need a bracket.
Now this car's not going back to factory, but he does want the factory stripe on the hood. So as soon as the guys got to a point where they're done working for the day, I come back to work, take the car in the booth, get all my measurements, lay the stripe out. So when they come in the next morning, they don't lose any time doing assembly because I did it while they were at home.
The 1970 Dodge Challenger is legendary. It's also one of the most collectible cars on the planet today, depending on the model and the engine options. You could get the car in a base model, a Western Sport Special, a Special Edition. You could get it in an RT like this one, an RT SE.
Mark, you forgot the TA.
Other model could you buy of the Dodge Challenger? I'll give you a little hint. It's the least expensive of the models. Was it the Marshal, Judge, Deputy? If you think you know the answer, stay tuned after the break and I'll let you know how you did. Hello? Who's there? What the hell do you want?
Do you think they'll come, sir?
Oh, they'll come. And they'll come all right.
Hello, anybody there?
Thank goodness. Tell them we're not gonna make it.
There's a bridge, Mom. Doesn't look that safe to me.
There's only one way to find out.
All right, now what do you got on this Warman guy?
He was born in Eugene, Oregon, and he only had 8 crayons growing up and a tumor in his foot.
I think we picked ourselves an odd duck, buddy. Welcome to the party, pal. Mark has gathered us here to solve the mystery of who tried to have him killed. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody is leaving here until we figure out who tried to take me out, or somebody dies.
Dad, what do you mean somebody dies? That's ridiculous. What movie's that from anyways?
Look, somebody in this room tried to have me killed. We're gonna find out who did it through any means necessary. I get what I need or somebody dies. Blacklist.
Son of a... If you don't let me out of here, I'll kill you myself.
Nice try, Blubber, but a little too slow for the Iceman. You have until midnight. Don't disappoint me. Not a bad contraption. Built one like it in high school back in shop class. Took my grandma's wheelchair and modified it. Yeah, she got hurt in it, but didn't kill her.
What's going on here? What do we do now? And where's that butler with our dinner?
Hey, that's a good point, Tony. Where is the butler? Because I haven't seen him since I arrived. I'm gonna go check it out.
I'll come with you. I need to have a word with him about the quality of his service.
I eat food that'll make it blue puke.
Oh my God, he's dead.
I knew it. We're gonna starve. Gambo, can you cook?
I want something to eat. Yeah, because you're pushing me. Why are you pushing me?
Look, here's a note. It says here, now I have a machine gun too. Ho, ho, ho.
Come out to the coast. We'll get together, have some laughs.
You guys, it's only 11 o'clock. My dad said we have until midnight, so there's still another murder. That means
this murder was just the appetizer.
we need to go and tell the others what we found. Let's go, you guys.
Hey, you're not on him. He's on you. Me.
Welcome back, everybody. How did we do on that one? What was the lowest price class model of the 1970 Dodge Challenger that I didn't list? If you guessed Marshall, you're crazy. I don't even know if there was ever a car called a Marshall. I don't think that is even a thing. So you should check yourself into a hospital. If you said Judge, well, you're not a Mopar person because that was a Pontiac GTO, a version of the GTO. If you guessed Deputy, you're absolutely right. The Challenger Deputy, entry level, base price, cheapest car they made, such as you could only get two colors of interior, black or black and white. The quarter windows on that car didn't roll down. The money they saved giving you window regulators and punching a hole in the quarter interior trim pad.
They did have holes with plugs.
The standard engine in the Deputy was the 318 and the 198. No difference in price. It's the only time I've ever seen that before. If you had deep pockets and you want to get a little crazy on your Deputy, you could get the 225 slant six or step up to the 383 four barrel. Pretty cool to think about a car that long ago that they were trying to be that thrifty and they still allowed you a couple options, nowhere near the stuff you got once you got out of that Deputy class. There you go. This stuff that I just have rolling around up here. Someday I'm going to dedicate my brain to science fiction. So we just finished putting the front bumper on our Roadrunner. We're getting ready to install the rear bumper. Everything's going really well on it. Team's pulled together nicely. Now the deck lid on the Roadrunner also gets a decal. So I'm going to put that on next and then I'll grab Justin to install the bumper. So you just want to make sure that everywhere that decal is going to touch, that there's something to keep it from sticking right away. That's the whole point of it, is you got to have time to move that decal around. Now, if you guys recall back to when Alyssa and Will were doing the decal on the 1971 Cuda, they got the backing paper wet and it ruined it. You can't get the backing paper wet. It has a protective film over the outside of it so you don't damage the decal when you're squeegeeing on it. And then it has another protective film on the bottom side that protects the adhesive side, the glue side of the decal. What you see right there is not black, it's silver, because it's a reflective decal. That's what's really cool about it. When we're all done, I'll be able to shut the lights out, hit that with a flashlight, and that thing glows in the dark. You want to make sure when you take this backing paper off that you don't leave any letters stuck to the backing paper. Very carefully turn your hand over. You don't want it to fall onto itself and get stuck. This is probably the most difficult part right here. Once you have that, figure out which hand holds what, and now I can go ahead and get it set on there for just a rough out. So I can see right now that I'm way too far that way. I know that I need to line this up right here and overhang it 1/4 of an inch. This goes up, this goes up. There's my 1/4 inch overhang. So if you look carefully right here, the lid goes like this and then down. What I've done is I've lined up this backing paper exactly in line with the top edge of that. And it really, I love these decals. Like I say, they're reflective, so they look cool at night, but just getting some contrast on the car right off the bat, that's a great way to do it. And this car's coated for it. Even though we modified the car from the fender tag and put a 392 in it, it still has some pretty neat options, and this is one of them. You can't put the interior together yet until the headliner and the vinyl top are installed. Now, I have to pick up the phone and call Larry, our buddy at Larry's Interiors, and beg him to drop everything he's doing and come over and install that vinyl top in the car. Because again, they have to go in before we can start putting anything on the interior. And while he's here doing it, if I can get him here tomorrow, we can't do anything else on the car while he's working on it.
I'm just getting the vinyl top trim moldings marked out and placed so I can get the holes drilled. I gotta drill out the holes because it takes this little garnish molding on the outside. It's a factory piece. This car actually didn't have that, and the customer opted for vinyl top on his car. So when you're doing something like this and drilling holes on 1/4 of a car, the stakes can be pretty high because there's not really much room for error. So if you drill the hole in the wrong spot, too high, too low, then that spot actually has to be ground down, filled in. So this process right here always makes me nervous. This is about the second time I've done it. Make sure you got a nice sharp drill bit. You don't want an oblong hole, and make sure your drill isn't wobbly. So the next part of the process is I'm gonna peel all the tape off, just clean up the surface, and just get everything laid out and ready for Larry to come and put the top on.
I'm Larry's Interior, and I do upholstery, and I've been doing upholstery here for at least 7 years or longer. I like doing original work, so I always hit for the original work because I just love it. And I like the Mopars, and so that's what I do for a living, and I'm training my son and hoping he can take it over and keep going. We didn't know it needed the vinyl top until yesterday, and so Mark got it here, and then we're doing it today, and then you guys are free to get the car done for the customer. On some of the vinyl tops, they're hard, they don't have no stretch. And sometimes you gotta, when it comes down like this and comes around in the back, you really gotta watch what you're doing to pull that down and get all that out. You know, so that's the challenge on some of them cars. This one was pretty good. It takes us about 2.5 days to do the seats, and then it takes me about 5, 6 to 8 hours to do a top. Depends on the top now. And do the headliner, it's about 6 hours, somewhere in there. I've got used to Mopar, so actually I like them. You know, I'm just used to them. I know where the stuff goes and where I cut it, and I can just come in and do it, and Mark don't have to mess with me at all.
I would put the Roadrunner very much like the sword of Damocles that is hanging above me and just slowly working its way down. I don't know, and I'm not manufacturing worries or problems. This is real. It's why you've seen things that you would never see in graveyard cars. We're not as polished right now because we're truly doing the best we can to keep our word to the customer. There's only one person that knows if we'll get it done, and that's God. I have no idea.